Hello. Hey, ladies.
Hi.
Hey, guys. Good to see you, ladies. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brand Rewind Live. It is Thursday, November 10th. Great to have you here. Thanks so much for being with us again. I can't believe it's November 10th already.
I know.
Time's flying.
It's flying by. When you're having fun, it flies.
And don't we have fun?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot more fun today. So I'm Denise Kegler. My company is MDK Brand Management, and I'm coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts.
And I'm Pati Abdurazak. My company is the Stylista Group, and I'm coming to you from Harlem, New York.
And I'm Barika Phillips Bell. My company is B3 Media Solutions, and I'm coming to you from a very sunny California.
Always.
Okay. All right, Barika.
Okay. Always.
I know. I'm sorry.
Hey, and of course, you guys might notice that our fourth partner in crime, Zoe Mitchell, is not with us. Zoe is taking a bit of a sabbatical, a leave for a few weeks while she tends to some personal affairs. So hopefully she's watching. Hey, Zoe, we miss you.
We miss you. Okay. All right. So as you guys know, we like to kick things off with national recognitions. There's a day for everything, it seems. And today, November 10th, we have 3 special days. So there's World Toy Day, which if you have children like I do, small children, you're always falling over those things. So stop making them.
I'm not going to tell my daughter about that.
We're not telling the kids about this, right? No. Here's another fun one, Sesame Street Day. I actually love Sesame Street. Kids learn a lot from watching Sesame Street.
I remember watching Sesame Street with my nanny, and I just remember it was the best show ever. Yeah. But kids don't watch. Do they watch it now?
They do. Yeah, you have to make them watch it. Yeah, you have to introduce them. There are lots of distractions, but that's an oldie but goodie still, I feel like.
It's a classic, but I was where Barika was. Is it still on?
It is. I haven't seen it. That's is it PBS? I don't know where it is.
It's still on. They're new characters. You guys got to check it out. Yes. And then this one, not so fun, but necessary, World Accounting Day. So shout out to all the accountants out there.
Absolutely. And we're all small business owners. So we absolutely want to give high five to all the accountants.
Props to my accountant. Thank you for counting my money.
That's hilarious. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Patia. So we do have a special extended edition on tap for today. And so we're excited to welcome our special guest, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. He is the sheriff of Suffolk County, which is in Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome, Steve Tompkins, to the show.
Hey. Listen, who's luckier than me today to be here with you three? Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate
it. We are so thrilled to have you here. So let me just give a brief introduction of you, and I'm gonna read it because I want to make sure I get it right. But during my introduction, people will go, "Why does she have to read that?" And I'm gonna explain why. So Steve Tompkins was appointed to the role of sheriff in 2013 by the former governor of Massachusetts, Governor Deval Patrick, to replace then Sheriff Andrea Cabral. Sheriff Tompkins was subsequently elected to the position in 2014 and was reelected to the position in 2016. So during his tenure, Sheriff Tompkins has been active in state Democratic politics. He received attention as one of several prominent Black officials, along with the former DA Rachel Rollins and former police commissioner William Gross, in major criminal legal systems roles in Boston when their terms overlapped in 2019. Now, this was so exciting for people of color in Boston because all 3 of the top law enforcement roles during that period of time were held by people of color, by Black folks. And it was really, really exciting. And Steve was one of those 3 top law enforcement officials in the Boston area. In 2019, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker appointed Sheriff Tompkins to chair the Roxbury Community College Board of Trustees. During the Democratic presidential party presidential primary, Sheriff Tompkins endorsed Elizabeth Warren's candidacy and even spoke at her formal campaign launch, as you see here. Sheriff Tompkins is a Boston College grad and began his career in video production. Now, finally, in the spirit of transparency, which is why I said what I said at the beginning of Steve's introduction, Steve and I have been very, very close friends for decades. I'll leave it at that. I'll just say decades. We have been very close friends, and I chaired his first campaign for sheriff. So, with that, Sheriff Tompkins about to say, well, Steve, Sheriff Tompkins, get ready, because you are just about to have some fun. You think you're excited now? We're about to shoot you with, well, shoot you. I probably should use that term when I'm talking to the sheriff.
You think?
Fire off.
Right? You think?
Fire off some questions at you.
And see, we're in the same state, so you know I can send a cruiser to come and get you. Right?
Watch out, Denise. Watch out.
You know what, guy? He would too. Like, he would do that too.
Yes.
But it's so great to have you here. I'm so excited to dig in, and we've already got some comments, and we're going to get to the comments. I already see some highs and comments on in the chat box. But on that note, too, please do fill our box with comments, with questions for Sheriff Tompkins. You guys always do. I was telling Steve, we have such an engaged audience. We've got our what do I always forget what we call them? Our regulars.
Our
regulars. Yay. Love you guys. Love that you're here. And so let's get started. So again, thank you, Sheriff Tompkins, for being here with us.
Sure.
Well, I have to share this with Sheriff Tompkins so he can see that, like, they're already cheering you on. So this is awesome. From Cheryl.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you for your.
Denise, before you ask me the first question, just to let you know, the four top law enforcement positions are still held by people of color. Rachel Rollins, who was the district attorney at the time that this was taken, is now the United States attorney from Massachusetts, appointed by the president. We just had an election on Tuesday, which I won again. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Kevin Hayden, a brother, is now our new district attorney, and the new police commissioner is Michael Cox. And so there are a lot of folk in Boston wondering, what's going on?
No. What is going on? What's going on?
No, it's wonderful. And thank you for pointing that out, Sheriff. Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. Hey, Yvonne. Hey, Cheryl. Thank you guys for being here. Hey, Sharon. Thank you all for being here. So question, Sheriff Tompkins, first question, and then we'll fire off some more at you. And so as I said in the intro, of course, Governor Baker appointed you to fill Andrea Cabral's remaining term, and then, of course, you ran for re-election. But I'd like for people to get some insight into you. What made you even accept the appointment by the then Governor Deval Patrick? And what was it? What's your why? What was it about? And you and I have been friends. We know about branding. We talk about it. And we'll get more into the details. But your why, there's something about who you are, something deep down inside that made you want to do this. What was it? What inspired you?
I have to take you back to 2002, because the why really began in 2002 or 2001, when I was recruited by Andrea Cabral, my predecessor, also one of my college classmates, to come to work for the Sheriff's Department as her director of communications. She's the first African-American female in the Commonwealth to hold that position. And the first two times she called me, I said no. I did not want to work in a jail. I'd never been in a jail, and I didn't fancy going to a jail to collect a paycheck. So that didn't work for me. The third time she called, she asked me to come and see her, which I did. And she asked me to go and visit with the people in the communications department, which I did. And while I was there, they took me on a tour, and they took me to one of the housing units. And I was standing on a tier, which is like a balcony, and I'm looking out into this room, and all I see is Black and Latino men. That's all as far as I could see. And they were all crammed together in this room. And the first two things that I thought about was, one, interestingly enough, although I hadn't been there, I thought about the Middle Passage, when all of the our African brothers and sisters were crammed into a belly of a boat and taken around the globe to build other empires and other nations. That's the first thing I thought about, looking at all of these guys crammed together like that. The second thing I thought was, I'm going to take this job. And I figured I'd take it because, knock on wood, I've had a couple of good opportunities in life, and I saw this as my clarion call, as it were, to give back. And that was in 2002. In 2005, I was appointed to the Chief of External Affairs, meaning that everything outside of the department fell into my portfolio. Legislators, foundations, community organizations, clergy, you name it, fell into my portfolio. It was outside of the department, but I kept the communications department also in my portfolio. In 2013, Andrea Sheriff Cabral was recruited by the governor, Deval Patrick, African American, actually, to come to be his secretary of public safety. And he tapped me. Well, it's interesting. Andrea wanted someone to follow her. When Andrea and I came to the department in 2002, we had this pact that we would never give this office back to anyone that was not of color. We just felt that since we have so many people that are incarcerated here of color, that it should be led by people of color. And so Andrea wanted somebody in her world to follow her.
Yeah.
And Deval Patrick wanted her to be his secretary, so you can connect the dots. Deval, you want her, she wants someone from her department. So I had to run the gauntlet, though. It wasn't just given to me. I had 5 interviews. We had to go the whole thing. And then it was interesting when he called me. He called me one day, and I thought it was my college roommate. And I pick up the phone, and I hear this voice, and it says, "Are you ready?" And I thought it was Mike. And so I said, "Mike, stop messing around, man. I don't have time to play with you, boy." And it went silent. And then the voice said, "Steve, this is the governor."
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, this is my introduction. I jammed up before I got the job.
Wow.
And he said, "Look, you're my choice to be the governor. I mean, how about that? To be the sheriff."
Right.
And he said, "I'm going to swear you on Tuesday. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell anybody." And at the time I was married, and I said, "Can I tell my wife?" Silly question. And he says, "Silly question. Of course you can tell your wife, but don't tell her." And that following he said, "I've got to go down to see President Obama. When I get back, I will swear you and Andrea in at the same time." So my predecessor, my good college friend, was sworn in as his secretary of the Executive Office of Public Safety. I was sworn in as the sheriff. And it's been extraordinary to this extent. This is not a job that I ever fancied. And as you know, Denise, I was in television production for 20 some odd years, and I loved it. But with this job, we're working with a group of people that are at the low ebb of their life. And what better way to spend your day than try to help people improve their station in life, to help strengthen the individual. And if you have a strong individual, maybe you have a strong family. Have a strong family, you have a strong community. And so that's why I do the work that I do, because it's what I'm supposed to do, frankly. I feel that this was my destiny. This is what the big guy had in mind for me. And so here I am doing my thing.
Yeah, doing it well. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I love your why. I just have to share this picture because I know that you actually worked with Senator Warren. How is that? Like, what kind of things?
Yeah. So in when did she run? I think it was 2012. She ran for Senate. She's a Harvard professor, wanted to get into political life. We had a Republican here, a guy named Scott Brown, who had won the so-called Kennedy seat.
I remember him.
You remember that?
I remember him. Yep.
Yeah, and she was going to run against Scott Brown, and her political director, it's a good friend of mine, Asian brother named Roger Lau, calls me up, and he says, "Hey, long story short, he says, hey, come see me. We've got some positions we want to fill, and we want to just pick your brain for names." So I go and see him, and it's Roger and Misty Myers, who was her campaign director. And I have my book of names, like, Mitt Romney. I have my book of names, and I go through all these names, and about a half hour in, Misty says to me, she says, "Well, we want you to do the position, or we want you to join our political team." And I said, "I didn't come out here for a job. I have a job, but thanks, I'm flattered." And so we had a little more conversation. I said, "Let me think about it." I said, "Here's the deal, though." I said, I don't need to make all the money in the world, but I've got to get paid, at least have the salary that I'm making now. I have a mortgage, couple of kids, couple of dogs. I got to get paid.
Mhm.
And, I thought about it and I decided to do it. And I took a 5-month leave of absence. And it was myself, Michelle Wu, who is now the mayor of Boston, Danny Rivera, who just stepped down as the mayor of Lawrence, Massachusetts, and Roger Lau. We were her political team. And she sent us out to fan across the Commonwealth, principally to recruit more people of color to get into the political mainstream and to get into civic life, particularly our youth. And that was something that resonated with me big time because I'm a big civics kind of junkie. I love it. And she's like, I call her my political godmother. I mean, Elizabeth and I are like really, really good friends. I just think the world of her, frankly, and she's been very good to me, very good to me.
Yeah, she thinks the world of you too. She really does, obviously.
It's amazing. Good stuff.
So this is actually called Brand Rewind.
Yes.
So we want to talk a little bit about rewinding the brands of current and former inmates. And I know that's something that you and Denise are very, very passionate about. How successful are inmates, in your opinion, on being able to actually rewind and rebuild their brand?
Interesting. Denise used to work with us, helping to establish a brand for the men and women. I don't know if you worked with the female population. Did you work?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So with the men and women here. So here's the rub. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that are incarcerated here, and I'm a county sheriff, meaning that if your sentence is 2.5 years or less, you come see me. On average, guys are with us for 12 to 14 months, ladies 6 to 9 months. A lot of these folk began their road to our incarceration as truants, dropping out of school in the 6th grade. You see,
Wow.
yeah, and a lot of them come from single parent households, most headed by women. Mom's got 2 or 3 jobs, 2 or 3 kids, and so she's not home all the time. And you know what happens when the streets get to you?
Right.
They become your family and turn your world around. So what we've found here is that one, we have to demystify this thing about going to jail as a rite of passage into manhood.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, far too many of the young men here really believe that they got to make their bones and all that sort of nonsense, and they do ridiculous things. They get them incarcerated, right? So we have to try to kind of demystify that. Okay, this is not a place you want to be. You go to jail, you lose all of your liberties. You got a guy like me telling you when you can do anything. Have recreation, watch TV, make a phone call, go to the restroom. Seriously, go to the restroom. It's crazy, And so, what we say to cats, guys, and ladies, you don't want to be here. But when you talk about their brand is what they know of from being in the streets, and that's that kind of tough life, that struggle, that school of hard knocks, just to try to make it, and bringing them here. It's almost like when you talk about going into the military where you go to boot camp and they break you down just to build you back up. Well, we have to do, I won't say break you down, but we really have to get into their heads and really try to say there's a better way to lead your life. And so we begin by recruiting our officers. We no longer recruit G.I. Joe and G.I. Jane. We recruit people that have a psychology, sociology background. We want people that understand the mental makeup of individuals so that when you hear, you have a better chance of identifying, as it were, with them and what their needs are and why they do the things that they do, and then to kind of reconfigure their thought pattern. It's not easy. It's really tough, but it's something that we think is something that we have to do. And so when Denise was here, she would teach guys and ladies sense of self, and how you can have your best life if, in fact, you follow certain canons, okay, to do what needs to get done to survive out there in the tough streets, but also to take care of your families and to not recidivate. The recidivism rate, which is, coming back and back and back, is 46% in the Commonwealth, and as high as 65% in other parts of the country. The cost is anywhere between $55,000 to $65,000 annually. I've got well over 1,000 inmates here, And the thing that I talk to legislators about oftentimes is why don't we put money in front of the curve, i.e., in education, right?
Agreed.
Depending upon where you go to school, if it's not a private school, it's somewhere between 12 and 20 grand. But it seems like I'm not going to say they'd rather, but 20 grand, 55 grand. I mean, come on, you figure it out. And so when we have a chance to really work with these individuals, some we save. When guys and ladies, well, actually, unfortunately, most of the ladies here are here because they were doing something foolish for their guys, holding guns and doing drugs.
Right, yeah.
They get caught, they go to jail, and the guy is in the wind, right?
Yeah.
The men here, when they get into their low 30s, mid 30s, they've had enough of being a frequent flyer or coming back and back and back. So they're ready to do something different. I went over to Germany a couple of years ago to look at how they do their corrections, and what they have there is a dynamic where they take that 18 to 26-year-old cohort and they put them in a different part of the facility because the mind hasn't fully matured until you're about 25 to 26. And so what they do is they offer them a different curriculum track, and they really work with them pretty consistently to say, we want to give you the opportunity to do better for yourself, but you have to meet us halfway, i.e., you have to stop thinking that gangbanging and selling drugs is the only way to survive. The rub is when you're selling drugs and you're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a day with $10 an hour,
Right.
that's like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Too tempting.
We've had some success with the younger cohort in turning them around, but we also bring kids in here, middle school, high school kids, to see that this is no joke. This is real life. It's not a movie. It's not a music video.
Yeah.
And after they go through the tour, some of the inmates actually sit with them and say, I am where you were 10 years ago thinking that you're all that, Now, do you want to be me? And then we have the youngsters actually write out a one-page essay about their experience here.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the toughest guys really get very emotional because the reality of being in jail has really kind of set in on them.
Wow.
But so I think they get emotional because on one side of the coin, they're like, I don't want this, but I don't know anything else.
Anything else?
So now what do I do? And so it's a tough nut to crack, but we do it every day and we love the work.
Wow. So
answering your question. I'm so sorry. I just ran on.
No, that was great.
It's okay.
A perfect segue from my question, which I'm wondering as it relates to repeat offenders, which you just mentioned, and the statistics were kind of disturbing. I didn't know they were so high. But what is the common thread between the people who keep coming back? Is it just that they really don't have the necessary skills or support network? So, going back to prison is probably kind of like a safety net. What is the common thread with the repeat offenders?
Well, let's start with poverty. Okay. And so when you have nothing and you want something, you are going to do what you have to do to get what it is that you want. So let's start there. But poverty is just so big to try to dissect that and break that up. But you have poverty mixed with hopelessness, mixed with the streets where you've got, the good-looking slick cats, with their lifestyle, with their money, with their rings, with their cars and all that sort of stuff. And you get attracted to that. We don't do, I don't think, a good enough job in this country to educate and then to employ. And the third leg on that is to have adequate housing. And so those things, but we start with poverty, lack of education, and hopelessness. And that's what, if you are looking for a common theme, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Wow.
Earlier you were talking about some of the issues, I guess, that inmates face and the work that I did with them. And I was thinking one of the common threads sort of getting at a phrase Patia just used that I found in working with the inmates is their lack of self-confidence, their lack of self-worth. And one of the ways I would connect with them is to help them understand and realize that they are worthy, they are beautiful, they are smart, they do have something that they can
Yeah,
contribute
something.
to society. It's about, and Steve, you mentioned it, it's about getting in their heads. And that was one of the ways I was able to connect with the inmates, is to understand I'm here because I care. I'm here because I want to support you. I want to help you rebuild your brand so you can rebuild your life when you leave here. And that I find it, and so I want you to talk a little bit about this. That is a way to connect with these guys, because they're, as you mentioned, Sheriff Tompkins, they're connecting with the wrong people. Right.
Yeah.
Pulling them down the wrong road. And they have to understand, you know what, I can do better, I can be better, but they need to be surrounded by people who are constantly telling them that versus the other.
So let me tell you and your audience just how good Denise is, right, with doing that. So Denise would really help these individuals heighten their self-esteem and their self-awareness of where they're at versus where they could be if they lived their life a different way. And I remember you remember this, Denise. I remember having a conversation with Denise about, working with these young guys. And she was so passionate about it, and dude wants to like really continue the conversation when he gets out and blah blah blah. And I was like, no, 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 no. You remember this? I was like, D, no, listen to me. Do what you do where you got to get here, but we're not talking about cats like coming to see you. Let's get out of here.
Oh boy,
this kind of self-esteem building going on. But that's how impactful she was, and it wasn't like a thing where they were trying to like get close to her and all of that. They really were vibing with what she was teaching them and helping them kind of pull them out of the muck and mire, of where they were and where they could be. And DK is my friend from way back. I'm like, yo, sis, nah.
But it's, and I do remember the conversations you and I had, and of course, Sheriff Tompkins and the other sheriffs around the state. There are all these rules and protocols that those of us who go, and educators who go, and we have to abide by and follow. And one of the big rules that Sheriff Tompkins and the other sheriffs have is to make it clear with these inmates that there can be no communication whatsoever after you finish with the work. And so they were constantly, Steve is saying, they would constantly come up to me and say, hey, when I get out, can I work with you? Can you help me start my business? Can you help me continue to rebuild my brand? And I would say, you know what, as Steve was saying, I would love to, because I felt like we were just leaving them, to a certain point in their rehabilitation, if you will, and then leave them. But I said, guys, you're going to risk my contract with this.
Yeah.
Cannot contact me. And it did break my heart that I would have to just walk away.
So notice how she started with, we have these rules and regulations. Yeah. And my girl was like, yo, I know you got these rules and regulations, dude, but you know what? I'm going to tweak this a little bit. It was like, DK, you can't, come on, you can't do that. But it was a real good experience, and she actually did go to work with some of the other sheriffs in the Commonwealth.
I did.
So and she and I have talked about this. This is something that I would like to bring back. COVID got in the way of a lot of things. We couldn't have a lot of people in during COVID. We couldn't have anybody, frankly. And quieting down, we want to go back to some of that, because it really is a good self-esteem, self-awareness, building confidence. And that's when you ask Tia about a common theme, that confidence, right? That you can be more and do more just is not in evidence.
Right.
So they need to be given that, but it can't be a kind of a flash in the pan one time a week, because it's got to be something that's done every single day.
I mean, it's just like kids. I think it's just like children. Like, if you don't instill in children at a young age that they can be something and that they should be confident and that they can do anything and be anything, they won't grow up with that, and there'll be adults that don't have that.
Well, like you said, so what do kids look for really, aside from love, which they need structure.
Right?
And that's what you give these kids, and that's what my population here has lacked, is structure in their life. You see, and and additionally, when you have kids having kids, That's
Right.
also a pretty that's not healthy. It's not a good thing because
Exactly.
those kids weren't parented themselves, and now they've got kids,
Well, their parents,
Yeah,
exactly.
their parents,
right?
yeah.
Vicious
So,
cycle. Vicious
how does
cycle.
that work? And so it doesn't work well.
Right. I'm seeing we have lots of questions for
Questions.
you, our audience. This is a really good one.
I do.
So should we get to some?
You want to do the questions or okay? All right.
Yeah.
So we have this question from Cheryl, and Cheryl wants to know what's your perspective on SROs.
Break that down. What's SRO? Break it down for me. What are you talking about?
What is an SRO, Cheryl?
Let's go to the next one while Cheryl's
That's
telling us.
animal molding?
Actually,
No,
don't even know.
I'm sure it's something that I should know. Wow, man. Thank you for putting me on the spot, young lady.
We
my
don't know
God.
ourselves, so don't do that.
Please, you didn't tell me I just got blown
No,
up.
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
We have
But-
no idea.
Antonio B asks, Sheriff Tompkins, what's the climate in your areas right now post-COVID? In New York area, we've seen staggering numbers in violent crimes, almost daily basis. Have you seen this as well?
So we are realizing an uptick, in crime, not murder, thankfully, not
Right.
murder, but still, violent crime is violent crime. We are not here as aggressive as I believe you said you're in New York, so it's
Right.
a little bit different there. Lot bigger, more people on the struggle. But yes, post-COVID, we are seeing an uptick in crime. Yeah, unfortunately, And during COVID, clearly things quieted down some. But it's also interesting, particularly up here, well, in New York also, when it gets very cold, we have people that intentionally commit crime
So that they
where
can
they'll
have
get like
help.
a 90 or 120-day sentence. So they're inside, getting food and shelter and a bed and all the creature comforts. And then the spring comes around and they're out and they go back and do their thing. And so we see a lot of that also.
Wow.
But unfortunately, we have far too many people here, I think, as I mentioned earlier, that are substance use abusers or have mental challenges and frankly should not be here. But because of the scarcity of beds outside of a correction facility, they're here. If they do something untoward, they're here. And so we really talk to our legislators a lot about doing something about that. But I got to tell you this. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and I said, what's up? He worked in the medical field. He works in the medical field. I said, why won't they put more money into it? And astonishingly, he said to me, because you don't make any money doing that.
Wow.
I was like, what do you mean? I was like, we're talking about human beings, human lives. But he was like, yeah, I get it, but you don't make any money in it.
Wow.
And so they're not putting any money into it. Now, I'm sure there are legislators that hear this and they will want to, combat that. But when he said it, it almost kind of made sense. It was like,
but I mean, who's making the money? Is it like the companies that are housing the inmates, or are you specifically speaking like if they were like contributing members of society? Wouldn't government make money because they'd have to pay taxes? Like,
Yes,
wouldn't
right.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the common sense. See, you're going with the logical approach. It makes sense.
I'm sorry.
But when you say who's making money, first of all, we don't have any private incarceration facilities here in Massachusetts. So that equation is off. But when he was saying they don't make any money off it, he means that legislators will want to put money elsewhere, to other city and state needs, so not that they're necessarily making money, but they're making more of a tangible difference. You see, you can really see like transportation or housing or something to that effect. Healthcare, not so much. But who is making money? Right in my catchment area here, we have 3 methadone clinics. They're getting paid.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Cheryl's question, SRO, she means school resource officer. So what is your perspective on school resource?
Well, you know what? I got to tell you. So I knew that's what she was talking about, but I dig that picture of her, so I wanted to come back.
I love that, Cheryl.
Okay. Yeah, we got it, Steve. We got it.
No. Lisa's going to beat me up later. But here's the deal. Here's the deal with that. In fact, I've been talking to the mayor about that and others because Massachusetts is like a really progressive state, right? And just as I think the far right is bad, I think the far left is also bad. And the progressives in this state aren't trying to have officers in the schools. But what they're failing to realize is that these things, we've got fights in schools. We had last week, we had a 7-year-old bring a loaded gun to school.
What?
Yeah.
7 years
Yeah,
old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 7. Now, fortunately, nobody got hurt, but still,
A
7 years old,
loaded
he had a
gun.
gun.
A loaded gun.
It
Yeah.
was his father's gun.
Yeah.
And so what the cops, what my police friends say, look, you're going to deal with us one way or the other. You're going to deal with us either before an incident happens or after. Doesn't it make sense to deal with us before? And so we've got this kind of push and pull. And what I was told, that we do have these resource officers in the schools, but I don't see the difference that they're making right now, to tell you the God's truth. But we have them, but even they will tell you that they need to be fortified with more whatever it is that they need to get their arms around the situations in the schools. But here's the thing, though. It's in the schools that are mostly populated by Blacks and Latinos. Those suburban schools, they're not having the same kind of struggles, it's not happening. But here in the inner core, it's pretty prevalent. But they're working on it. Now, we have Michelle Meru, she's in her first term. She's actually just came up on her first year anniversary. So she's still getting her sea legs up underneath her. And there's just so many things that you have to do with a major metropolitan city like Boston. This is not Mayberry, RFD. This is a real city with some real big issues. Right. And so she's working on them, and her team is working on them. And they've contacted us about doing some things around public safety that we're more than happy to help on. But yeah, they have them in the schools, but they'd like to be empowered more, and they just haven't been.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Wow.
I see another question here, Barika.
You also feel
we lost your audio.
Are you also feeling the effects of the high gun sales off the black market?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can get a gun here easier than you get a pair of sneakers. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
And it's interesting that that the proliferation of guns in the inner core, in the urban centers, is outrageous. We don't make the guns.
Right.
So where are the guns coming from? Okay. I mean, literally, I can go, I'm not even trying to be cute. I can go out right now and get a gun if I wanted a gun and come back and finish this interview.
Oh my goodness. That easy. Wow. That's crazy. Woo.
Wow. That is crazy. Did we
have made it their business to really address this gun situation, which is pretty bad.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't even know. I don't even know if I would even know where to go buy a gun.
Where do you go? Like the gun store?
What you know? We don't want to know, but you know.
We're such nerds. Like we don't even know where to go buy a gun.
The pawn shop? I don't know.
Let me tell you something. You know what? And I dig the three of you, and I dig this conversation. If you wanted a gun and you need a gun, you're gonna call somebody and say, "Dude, where can I get a gun?"
Well, I'm gonna call you. If I need a gun, I'm calling you.
It will come gift wrapped to your house. Trust me, you can get a gun if you really wanted to get a gun.
Is there Uber Eats for that?
Exactly right.
Probably.
The whole discussion around the Second Amendment. Okay, first of all, when the forefathers put that thing in about having your own arsenal of guns and so on and so forth, I doubt that they had any idea that what's happening now with guns would happen.
Exactly.
Number one. But number two, it's an easy way for the NRA and others to push back. Look, it's in our Constitution. You can have a gun. Okay, you can have a gun. But when people say that there needs to be, look, pets have more registration in a lot of places. Your car has more registration in a lot of places than your gun.
Right.
I mean, come on. Let's get serious about this. So you want people to be able to have guns? Okay, fine. But let's find out who's buying the guns, who has the guns, what are the purposes for having and possibly using the guns. I mean, who needs an AR-15 to
Right.
go hunting. I mean, in your house in Roxbury.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you have an AK-15? You don't need that in Roxbury.
Power.
Or
Power.
Harlem. But but that's a discussion for another time. But it's pretty bad.
No, I think you answered Antonio's follow-up question with ideas on how to regulate that, because just as you said, like, we need to figure out, like, what do you need these guns for? What do you like, who are the people that have them? Like how do you police that? So I definitely appreciate that commentary around that, because it's an
but
issue.
there's so much money. There's so much money in the game not to be able to police that.
Right. Right.
That, oh my God. And listen, I don't want to get into a deep political thing. I'm a Democrat. Republicans, Democrats see this gun issue, I think, a little bit differently, actually a lot differently. But, the Republicans are in control right now. And so I think it's going to be business as usual.
So we're going to get to our last segment in a minute, but I do have one final question for you, which is, of course, you mentioned at the top of the show, and congratulations, you won very easily re-election. Awesome. Yay, to another 5-year term. So proud of, as I sent you that text election night, proud of you. So
6 years.
You.
6 years. 6 years.
6 years.
That's awesome.
6 years. Right?
It is.
So,
it allows you to create programming and then grow that programming.
Right.
If I had to run every 2 years or 4 years, you can't do it as well. But yeah, it's cool. I'm sorry, Denise, you had a question?
No. So thank you for that correction. 6 years. So what's next for you? What's the future? What's the future look like for Sheriff Steve Tompkins?
Yeah.
The islands, drinks with little umbrellas. Okay, sand. I'll tell you what. So it's a 6-year term. We'll see if I complete the entire term, which I'm not sure that I will. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm getting a little anxious to work on other societal issues that are very important to me. But interestingly enough, if, let's just say, Elizabeth Warren ran for president again, and will be in 2024, she has to give up that seat. There are a lot of people that would like to move into that space, including our African-American Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley. So if she were to vacate her seat, and she's my Congresswoman, that seat would be open. I would have to take a look at Congress. I'm not saying that I will go there, but I would really have to look at that. I would really have to look at it.
Wow, that would be exciting.
Yeah,
Campaign manager extraordinaire.
I mean, if you want to make a difference, you got to be with the base of power.
That is true.
Oh, we just might have broken some news right here.
I know.
You heard it first on Red Wine Live.
You know what? I'm not going to talk to y'all anymore. Please get this brother all in trouble, man. Oh my goodness gracious.
So speaking of trouble, we're about to get into our little bit more trouble before we let you go. So we do the speed round at the end of our special extended edition when we have a live guest. So we're each, Patia, Barika, and I are gonna throw out one name at you, and we want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind about this person or organization, company, about their brand. Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, can I call my general counsel in?
General counsel. No.
General counsel.
And we are live. We got a good audience here, so we are live. So I'm gonna kick us off with this name, and I can't wait to get your thoughts about this name, this person. Kanye West.
I can't swear on this program, can I?
You're family friendly.
Okay. I think he's challenged mentally.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, Twitter.
An abomination.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Okay, Judge Mathis.
Celebrity. This is the first
Celebrity.
Now he used to be an inmate, right? And he was in prison, right, for a while.
I have no idea.
When he was much younger, I believe.
When he was much younger. And he studied the law, right? When he was in prison, he studied the law and then came out and became.
I don't follow those types of programs. I mean, I'm like a I watch like Law and Order, and I watch
Me
like
too.
Billions, and I watch that. That's so I don't watch those shows. So that's why I say celebrity, because that's
Celebrity.
Yeah, he was celebrity. That's all.
That's
Yeah,
all.
it's funny you mentioned Law and Order. I tell you, and I mean, we talk about pop culture sometimes on this show. I cannot get into the new one. I can't get into it. And I'm a Law and Order fanatic. The
Yeah.
original, all the Criminal Intent and SVU. I love
Mhm,
it. But
mhm.
this
What, the
latest
one, the organized crime? Law and Order
no,
organized?
not all. Yeah, all of the original reboot
Yeah.
Law and Order. Or I just can't get into them.
Really?
But you know what? So Dick Wolf, the producer of all of that, I mean,
Mhm.
you got to respect this guy. I mean, this guy is
Absolutely. Yeah.
printing money,
No,
because all of those shows come out and they keep coming,
They keep
But
coming.
have you seen the show with Latifah, The Equalizer?
Yeah, no, Dick
Yeah.
Wolf is a genius. Like,
He's
honestly.
great.
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
hands
total
down.
genius. Total genius.
Absolutely.
Okay, last one.
Yeah,
Wakanda Forever.
the struggle.
The struggle.
The struggle. That's
Absolutely.
interesting. I love it.
That's the thing that comes to mind. I mean, I dug the movie. I'm probably going to see. I think it's open now. I'm going to go see the next one. But
Yeah.
when watching that, I thought about the struggle and just how tough it is for folk of color to really let us do our thing. Okay, let us do our thing. Don't be intimidated by us. We don't want yours. We will get our own, and we will make good with that. Yeah, so that's what I saw, the struggle and how tough it is, and the fact that we have to stay in the struggle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because if we stop, but I will juxtapose that to another movie called Avatar, which came out a while ago. And while watching that, although it was animated and it was cute and all that, and it made a lot of money, to me, that was still a picture that was holding folk of color down. If you really watched Avatar, the folk of color, the real, I mean, they were all in color, but they were held down in a way that just was it spoke so loudly to what's going on in our society, present day. Well, actually, not just present day, the entire time that we've been in this country, I mean, folk of color. But yeah, that Wakanda, I think, and the young man who lost his life way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, way too soon.
Yeah.
What a gifted man.
It was amazing.
Major loss.
Yeah. Well, we've all been saying that we're going to go see it when it comes out. Comes out this week, and we're all planning to see it. So, on that note, what a great note to end on. Sheriff Steve Tompkins, you are
so much.
fantastic. Thank you for being with us on the special extended edition of Brand Rewind Live. Yeah, proud of you, and keep it up.
If I might, I thank you for having me on the show. But let me say this to your audience: I don't want people to forget the fact that we are our brothers and sisters keepers. And we need to live that in a way that is consistent and real, because without us taking care of each other, without us taking care of our kids, we will never get beyond the struggle. And so we must remember that I believe we are our brothers and sisters keepers, and we need to comport ourselves as such.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Perfect ending. Way to end the special edition show. So thank you again, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. You're fantastic.
Pleasure. Like I could say no to you. Like if I didn't get on your show, like I live. I'm messing with you, girl. Come on.
No, don't let everyone believe that don't let people believe you've never said no to me. Let's be clear.
Not many times. All right. Let's show up for your friends. Go ahead. We're gonna leave you and I. We're gonna go to dinner and talk about that later. But thank you so much for having me. This has been.
No, I look forward to it. So thank you for being here, ladies.
Thank you so much. So this brings us to the wrap up of our show. Everybody that joined us tonight, thank you so much for being here. Please spread the word, invite your friends to sign up for our newsletter at brandrewind.com. And also, I hope that all of you guys are following us on Facebook and Instagram at Brand Rewind.
And please know that due to the upcoming holiday, Brand Rewind returns live on Thursday, December 1st at 5 p.m. PST and 8 p.m. EST. So be sure to set your reminder.
Awesome. Great, great. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for being here. We will see you again on December 1st. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful
Bye-bye.
night.
Have a great Thanksgiving. That's right. Have a great
Great
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Happy
That's right.
Thanksgiving.
Stay